All right, we are here today, with day 3 of our Unit 4 ACT prep, which is intermediate algebra topics. And today we're going to be solving systems of equations. All right, so to solve a system of linear equations, first of all, what does linear mean? Well, linear means that the equation is in the form ax plus by equals c, meaning the exponents are ones. If your exponents are ones, you will have a line somewhere in space. The solution to a linear equation is an ordered pair that makes the equation true. A system is two or more linear equations that can be solved together. The solution to a system is must be the solution for all the equations in the system. Sorry, I'm stuttering. Your solution is where the two lines intersect. Okay, so if you graph this blue line and this purple line, they have exactly one solution. Okay, there's three things that can happen when you graph two equations at the same time. The first scenario is that they cross one time, and this will always happen as long as the slopes are different. As long as your slopes are different, I promise those lines will cross somewhere in space. Okay, if your slopes are the same, but your y-intercepts are different, you're going to end up with parallel lines, which means they never cross, which means there's no solution. And sometimes you can get a line that algebraically looks different, but reduces down to the exact same line. So one is graphed on top of the other, and that would mean infinitely many solutions because they share all the points. Okay, to solve a system of equations, sometimes you can add or subtract the equations to eliminate one of the variables. Other times you'll have to change an equation so that when you add or subtract, one of the terms is eliminated. They're teaching you the elimination method. Okay, there's lots of methods to solve a system. One is by graphing, and then you have elimination, which is what we're going to focus on, and then there's also another technique called substitution. I prefer elimination. It's usually the one that works the best for me. Okay, so to start off though by graphing, it says the xy coordinates of the intersection point. If I got y alone on this one, okay, you can't graph until y is alone. To get y alone on this one, I'd minus x, that gives me 2y equals negative x plus 2. Then I would divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2, and I get y equals negative 1/2 x plus 1. And if I graphed that one, all right, it would start at positive 1 right there, and I would go down 1, right 2, and draw the line. Okay, then I'd get my second y alone. So I take my second equation, x minus 2y equals 6, and get his y alone. So minus x, negative 2y equals negative x plus 6. Divide by negative 2, negative 2, negative 2. I get y equals positive 1/2 x minus 3. So that one's going to start at negative 3 and then go up 1 over 2, and they graph it. They intersect right there, so my point of intersection, my solution, would be the coordinates of that intersection point, which are 4, negative 1. You can make the calculator graph these for you. The only problem is, to do it on the calculator is just as much work to do it by hand, because even if you're given a system, to make the calculator read it, you still have to get y alone. So graphing and the graphing calculator, you got the same two steps. You still have to get y alone to graph. But your steps are, you would go to y equals and type in your two equations, and then get a good window, and then you're going to calculate the intersection point. So you would do second calc, and then intersect, I think, is choice 5, and then you just hit enter 3 times, and it'll tell you the solution. Okay, so if I use a graphing calculator to solve this system, all right, first thing I have to do is I have to get y alone in this equation. So if I take 3x plus 2y equals negative 2, and I get y alone, I'm going to minus 3x, 2y equals negative 3x minus 2, divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2, I get y equals negative 3 halves x minus 1. If I get my y alone in my second equation, alright, I have negative 4x plus 5y equals negative 28. To get y alone, I'm going to add 4x, That gives me 5y equals 4x minus 28. Divide by 5, divide by 5, divide by 5. I get y equals 4/5 x minus 28/5. Okay? So now, what you do is you go to your graphing calculator and you type in the first equation for y1. So that will be my negative 3 halves x minus 1. Then I type in my second equation, y equals 4/5 x minus 28/5. And I hit graph. Okay, this is a Zoom 6 window. This is a standard window. And you can see my solution is right there, which you could probably read for yourself, but it's kind of interesting to make the calculator do it. So you hit second, or hit second calculate, and we want intersections, so you're going to choose choice 5, and then basically you're going to hit enter 3 times to get your intersection point, which is at 2, negative 4. If I have to graph to solve a system, I use a graphing calculator. It's not hard to do it by hand, but again, negative 28/5, you're eyeballing it, and graphing is not accurate unless you're doing it on a computer. So again, I use the graphing calculator if I'm going to solve by graphing. Alright, so we have 2 other ways to solve system. We have substitution, which the only time I use, me personally, the only time I will ever use substitution is if one equation has a variable alone in it. Like if they gave me a system 3x plus 2y equals 7, and then they gave me another one that said y equals negative 5x plus 2. Since this one already has a y alone, then I would consider using substitution. But if they don't give me an equation that has a letter alone in it, I don't ever use substitution. I always do elimination. And your steps are to line them up vertically, and decide which variable you want to eliminate. Then to eliminate, what you do basically is you add the equations. Well, the only way you're going to eliminate one of the variables is if they have matching numbers but opposite signs. And to do that, you multiply the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. And then you check your signs. If your top and bottom number come out and their signs are different, you need to make them to both positive. Or both the same, but positive's easier. If they come out the same, you need to make them different. So change one of them so that it's different. Then you're going to add the equations, which will eliminate a variable or you did something wrong. Solve what's left, then substitute, then solve again, and you'll have your XY solution. Alright, so on this one, like I said, you line them up vertically, which they already are. The X's line up, the Y's line up, the constants line up. Okay, so if everything lines up, that's my indication to use elimination. Now always check first. You can skip to step 4. You don't have to multiply the top and the bottom by the top if there's already, when you go to quote add these together, if there's already a variable that's going to eliminate itself, like the x's, positive 3x and negative 3x, when I add these together, are going to be eliminated. So if it's already set up for you, Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday, you do not have to multiply the top. You're ready to add. So if I add these 2 equations, the x terms cancel. 5y plus 3y would be 8y equals 16 plus 8 is 24. So to solve for y, I'm going to divide by 8, and I get y equals 3. You have half of your answer. You have the y coordinate of that intersection point. To get the x, you're going to take your y and substitute it into either the top or the bottom equation. It absolutely doesn't matter. I'm going to go to the bottom, and I have negative 3x plus 3 times y equals 8. Now I didn't write y because I'm going to substitute my value for y in. It's almost like you know what y is worth, so now you can go buy the y from the store, and all you got to do to take the y is pay 3. So I took the y out, replaced it with 3, and then I'm going to solve this. Parentheses first, 3 times 3 is 9. Then minus 9, I get negative 3x equals negative 1. Divide by negative 3, and I get x equals a positive 1/3, because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And my solution then would be 1/3, 3. Okay? Alright, on this one, they are lined up vertically. Okay, the x's line up, the y's line up, the constants line up. But if I try and add right now, I'm going to get negative 2x plus 3y equals 23. That doesn't help me because neither one of my variables were eliminated. So before I add them, I'm going to have to multiply the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. But you got to pick who you're going to eliminate first. Okay, I'm going to eliminate the x's. If I'm going to eliminate the x's, what multiplied the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top is, if you're going to kill the x's, both x's have coefficients. And so what you do is you take the bottom coefficient and go to the top, and you take the top coefficient and you go to the bottom. Okay, so that's what I mean by you multiply the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. Okay, then you got to check your signs. See how mine, one came out positive, one came out negative? If they come out different, you have to make them the same. If they come out the same, you need to make them different. Well, mine came out different, so I need to make them the same. And the reason is so that they will have opposite signs when we add. So I'm on top going to distribute the 2. So I have 2 times negative 4x is negative 8x. I have 2 times negative, I'm going to write it down here, sorry, I got my calculator stuff over there. 2 times negative 4x is negative 8x. 2 times negative 4y is negative 8y. And 2 times 8 is 16. On the bottom, I'm going to distribute that 4. 4 times 2x is positive 8x. See how now my signs are different and the numbers match? And that's because I did the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top and checked the signs. Positive 4 times positive 7y is positive 28y. And positive 4 times 15 is positive 60. So once you do the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top, you're ready to, quote, add the equations. Well, negative 8x and positive 8x cancel, which is what I wanted, and i.e. they call it the elimination method. I just eliminated the x's. Add what's left, or combine like terms I should really say. Negative 8y plus 28y is positive 20y. 16 plus 60 is 76. Divide by 20, and I get y equals, if you math enter it, 19/5. So there's half of my answer. The y coordinate is 19/5. Alright, so now I just have to get x. Well, to get x, you take y and you substitute it back into either of the equations. I'm going to plug it into the bottom, so I have 2x plus 7 times my y that I'm fixing to substitute in equals 15. And I change my y to 19/5. And I know you guys hate fractions. Okay? So let me show you a way to deal with them that is possibly a little easier to deal with. Okay? First of all, I'm going to go ahead and distribute. But when you distribute the 7, you don't multiply the top and the bottom by 7, because this is like 7 over 1. And when you multiply fractions, it's top times top over bottom times bottom. So 7 times 19 is 133 over 1 times 5 is 5. So I have 2x plus 133 over 5 equals 15. Now I'm going to kill that fraction. I'm going to get rid of dividing by 5 by multiplying by 5. Only rule is I have to do it to every term. So that gives me, no more room, that gives me 10x plus 133, because multiplication 5 cancels out division 5, equals 15 times 5 is 75. So now I have no more fraction, and I can get x alone. So minus 133 minus 133, 10x equals, if you do 75 minus 133, you get negative 58. Divide by 10, and you get x equals, if you reduce that, negative 29 fifths. So my solution is negative 29 fifths, comma, 19 fifths. Okay? Now, again, you can do this on the graphing calculator, but you're going to have to do all this work to get y alone in both of them. Okay? And I'm not going to go through that because to me it's just as easy to do it by hand. By the time you get y alone in both of them, that's what they would look like if you want to try it. Alright? And then I would graph it and calculate the intersection point, and it says negative 5.8, comma 3.8, which if you check, negative 5/8 as a fraction is negative 29 fifths. 3.8 as a fraction is 19 fifths. So my answer is right. Like I said, to me it's just as much work to do it on the calculator as it is to do it by hand. But you can do it. Alright, so let's try this one. Now this one we've got a little bit of the x's line up, the y's line up, but you got an extra constant here, which I need to move over. So I'm going to minus 12, which gives me negative 8x plus 5y equals negative 10. And my second equation then is in proper form, so that's 6x plus 12y equals 6. Alright, so now I have to decide who I want to eliminate. Okay, you can either eliminate the x's or the y's. I think I'm going to go for the x's because the numbers are smaller. So if I'm going to go for the x's, then get some color in there. Then positive 6 goes to the top and negative 8 goes to the bottom because I multiply the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. Check your signs. They came out different, so I need to make them the same. So I'm going to keep him positive. Alright, so now we distribute. 6 times negative 8x is negative 48x. 6 times positive 5y is 30y. 6 times negative 10 is negative 60. On the bottom, I'm going to distribute the positive 8, which gives me a positive 48x. 8 times positive 12y is going to give me a positive oh, no. Oh, hammy. It's a good thing I worked these out before so that when I get off track I can figure out what I did wrong. I screwed up. This is a y, should line up with him. This is an x that should line up with him. And I need to move the 12 over. So this top one would be 5x minus 8y equals negative 10. And the bottom is 6x plus 12y equals 6. And I am a little bit dyslexic apparently and did not switch my y and my x, but I switched my letters. Okay, sorry about that. So pay attention. Better than me, obviously. Alright, so I'm still going to kill the x's because they're smaller. So if I'm going to do x's, then positive 6 goes to the top, positive 5 goes to the bottom. These guys came out the same, so I need to make them different. So I'm going to make the bottom negative. So on top, I'm going to have 30x minus 48y equals negative 60. On bottom, I'm going to have negative 30x negative 60y equals negative 30. So now when I, quote, add these, which really means I'm just combining like terms, the x's cancel. Negative 48 minus 60 is negative 108y equals negative 60 and negative 30 is negative 90. So to get y alone, I'm going to divide by negative 108. And if I type negative 90 divided by negative 108 and hit math enter, I will get y equals 5/6. So now I'm going to substitute it back in and solve it. I'm going to go back up to this guy. So I have 6x plus 12 blank equals 6. And I'm going to plug in my fraction, my y value, which is 5/6. And again, I want to get rid of the fraction, so I'm going to multiply through, which gives me 6x plus 60/6 equals 6. Because 12 times 5 is 60, 1 times 6 is 6. And I could kill the fraction, but this actually divides evenly, so that's going to be plus 10. And then to get x alone, I'm going to minus 10 minus 10. 6x equals negative 4. Divide by 6, divide by 6. If I reduce, I get x equals negative 2/3, which makes my solution negative 2/3, comma, 5/6. Again, I showed a couple of them. If you did all the work to get y alone, those are what your equations would look like. And then set a graph, and you can see my intersection points at negative 0.6 repeating, which is your negative 2/3, and 0.83 repeating, which is your 5/6. And I proved that by typing in 0.66666 math enter, and 0.83 repeating math enter. Alright. Try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. I'm sorry, the answer is there. It's supposed to be animated. Darn it. But try it with the elimination method. Alright, so if I was doing this system, okay, I did it on the calculator, but you'd have to get y alone, type it in, get y alone, type it in, calculate the intersection point is negative 5/4. But, like I said, to do it by hand with the elimination method, and I can show you a little shortcut here. You absolutely, if you wanted to kill the x's, you could absolutely do 2 up and 2 to the top and 2 to the bottom. Okay, you can do that. But if the numbers already match, all I need to make them have is opposite signs. So all I need to do is multiply one by 1 and the other by a negative 1. So on top, I'd have 2x plus 5y equals 10, because multiplying by 1 changes nothing. On bottom, if I distribute and multiply everything by a negative 1, that's going to be negative 2x, negative 3y equals negative 2. And my x's will cancel. 5y take away 3y would be 2y equals 8. Divide by 2 and I get y equals 4. Take that back and substitute it into one of the originals. So I'd have 2x plus 3 blank equals 2. And I fill in the blank with my 4. And I solve. 3 times 4 is 12. To get x alone, I'm going to subtract 12. I get 2x equals negative 10. Divide by 2, and x equals negative 5. So my solution is x comma y. Okay? Alright, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got F. Alright, they're already lined up. So I'm going to decide who to kill. And I decided to kill the, what did I decide? The x's. Alright, so if I'm going to kill the x's, then negative 3 goes up, positive 6 goes down. Check your signs. They came out different, so I need to make them the same. So on top, I would get 18x minus 15y equals 3 times 15 is 45, distributing all the way across. On bottom, I'm going to get negative 18x, positive 12, dang it, positive 12y equals 60. And now when I go to add them, my x's cancel. I have negative 15y plus 12y would make negative 3y equals 45 and 60 is 105. Divide by negative 3 and I get y equals negative 35. Okay, so now I need to get x. So I'm going to go substitute this in. So I have negative 3x plus 2 blank equals 10. I'm going to fill in the blank with my y value of negative 35. Distribute, I get negative 3x minus 70 equals 10. So if I add 70 and add 70, I get negative 3x equals 80. Divide by negative 3, divide by negative 3, and x equals negative 80 thirds. Now, where the heck are they getting this from? Well, it says what is the sum of the solutions. So if I do negative 35 plus a negative 80 over 3, okay, and I get a common denominator, which is going to be 3, or use a calculator, times 3 times 3, I get negative 105 over 3 minus 80 over 3, which gives me negative 185 over 3, which gives me negative 61.6 repeating, which is negative 61 and 2/3. Alright, or you could do it on the calculator. You'd have to get y alone and set a window so you can see it. But I do get the intersection point. Not the right one. Oh, that doesn't help me, yeah. Because I get this and this, so then you'd have to add those together, which would give you those. Okay? Alright. Alright, so just some practicing, just to give you some tricks to hopefully make your life easier. Remember, when you have a system and you already have a pair of numbers that match, you don't have to do the whole top by the bottom and bottom by the top. You just need to multiply by positive 1 on top and negative 1 on bottom, or vice versa. Okay, all I have to do now is get the signs to be different, which means multiply one of them by a negative. So on top, if I distribute the 1, I get 4x plus 5y equals 13. On bottom, if I distribute the negative 1, I get negative 4x, negative 3y equals negative 9. And then when I go to add what's left, the x's cancel. 5y take away 3y would be 2y. 13 take away 9 would be 4. Divide by 2, divide by 2, and y equals 2. So there's half of my solutions. To get the other half, you're going to substitute it in. So I have 4x plus 3 blank equals 9. I'm going to fill in the blank with a 2 and simplify. 4x plus 6 equals 9. Subtract 6. I get 4x equals 3. Divide by 4, and I get x equals 3/4. So my solution is 3/4, comma 2. Which I checked the book to make sure my answers were correct before I did this. And the only difference with them is they wrote it as a decimal instead of a fraction. Alright, so if we try this one, if I look real quick, if I add right now, nothing cancels. So I'm going to have to multiply the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. You have to decide who you want to eliminate. This time I picked the y's because my signs were already different. So if I'm going to kill the y's, then these are the coefficients that go up and down. So positive 6 would come up and negative 2 would go down. And since they came out different, I would need to make them the same. So distribute the 6 on top. I get 18x minus 12y equals 36. On bottom, I'm going to distribute the 2, which gives me 18x plus 12y equals 120. And then when I add what's left, the y's cancel, and I get 18x and 18x is 36x equals 36 plus 120 is 156. So if I divide by 36, I get x equals 13 over 3 if I math enter the reduced fraction. Okay, now I got to get y, so I'm going to plug it into one of my originals. I'm going to plug it into this one. So I have 9 blank plus 6y equals 60. Oh, never mind. You know what? I'm going to go to the top one just because that's the way I did it earlier. And I can check to make sure I didn't screw up. So I'm going to go to the top one, but it absolutely doesn't matter really which one you go to. So 3 blank minus 2y equals 6. And I'm going to change my blank to 13/3. I know we all hate fractions, so multiply the top and the bottom, which gives me 39 over 3 minus 2y equals 6. And you could kill the fraction if you wanted to, but this is actually perfect. 39 divided by 3 is 13 minus 2y equals 6. So to get y alone, I'm going to minus 13 minus 13. Negative 2y equals negative 7. Divide by negative 2, and y equals 7/2. So my solution is 13/3, comma, 7/2. And again, checking in their book, they wrote it as mixed numbers. So they wrote this one as 4 1/3, and this one as 3 1/2. Okay? Alright, give me just a second. Okay, we're back. Alright, so if we go to the next one. Ooh, this is nasty. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is figure out where I'm at on here. Oh, there I am. Okay, so I don't like mixed numbers. So the first thing I'm going to do is rewrite that. So I'd have negative 5y plus 3x equals 8 times 4 is 32, plus 3 would be 35 over 4. And then if you don't want to deal with fractions, get rid of it. So if I multiply everything through by 4, I'm going to end up with negative 20y plus 12x equals 35. Because the 4's would cancel. My bottom equation, I got to move this guy over and put everything in order. So that guy is going to end up being, well, it'll be 2y plus 12x equals 13. And then I got to switch these guys. Oh, no, I don't, because this guy's got y first too. So never mind. So I have 2y plus 12x equals 13. Okay. Well, now, if you notice, my x's have the same number. They're both 12s. If I could get them to have opposite signs, I'd be golden, which we just learned like several times. If the numbers match, all you need is a 1 and a negative 1 to make them cancel. So on top, I'm still going to have negative 20y plus 12x equals 35. On bottom, distribute the negative, and I'm going to get a negative 2y, a negative 12x, and a negative 13. Now, when I combine like terms, my x's cancel. I have negative 22y equals 35 minus 13 is going to be 22. Divide by negative 22, and I get y equals negative 1. So to find x, I'm going to go substitute it into one of my originals, and I'm going to go to that one. So I have 2 blank plus 12x equals 13. And I'm going to put negative 1 in the blank. And that's going to give me negative 2 plus 12x equals 13. Add 2. 12x equals 15. Divide by 12 and reduce, and you get x equals 5/4. So my solution is x comma y. And again, when I looked at the answers just to make sure I was right, the only difference is they put theirs in decimal form. So they said 1.25 comma -1. But those answers are the same. Okay. All right, number 4. Again, should be an easy one because the 2's already matched. So all I need is a +1 and a -1. On top, I'd stay the same. 2x plus 5y equals 6. On bottom, distribute the negative is going to be -2x, -4y, -5. When I combine like terms, the x's cancel. 5y take away 4y is y. 6 take away 5 is 1. So I got y is 1. Alright, so now I'm going to substitute it in. So I have 2x plus 4 blank equals 5. I'm going to put 1 in the blank. So I have 2x plus 4 equals 5. Take away 4. 2x equals 1. Divide by 2. X equals 1/2. My solution is 1/2 comma 1. And again, I checked the answer and he just wrote it as a decimal instead of a fraction. Alright, so if I look at this one, again, I noticed that my y's already have the same number. So all I need to do to make them cancel is make them have different signs, which I do by multiplying the top by 1 and the bottom by -1, or vice versa. Distributing the 1 on top, I get 3x plus 5y equals 7. Distributing the -1 on bottom gives me -6x, -5y, -2. When I combine like terms, the y's cancel. 3x minus 6x is -3x equals 7 minus 2 is 5. Divide by -3 and you get x equals -5/3. I got half my answer. I'm going to have to substitute it back in, so I'm going to go to the bottom. 6 blank plus 5y equals 2. I'm going to put -5/3 in for my blank. Then I'm going to simplify. I know you hate fractions. Alright, so let's first of all multiply the 6, and that will give me -30/3 plus 5y equals 2. Normally I would multiply through by 3 then to get rid of the fraction, to eliminate it, but this actually divides evenly. -30 divided by 3 is -10. So to get y alone, I'm going to add 10. I get 5y equals 12. Divide by 5, and y equals 12/5. And that's my answer, till of course I went and looked, and all the difference in their answer is they wrote them as mixed numbers instead of improper fractions. So this would be -1 2/3, and this would be 2 2/5. Okay. Alright, if we try this one, again, I noticed that absolutely I don't need to do anything. I don't even need, yeah, I could multiply the top by 1 and the bottom by -1 to make the 4's cancel. But always check for Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday to me. If I can add and eliminate a variable without doing that, then absolutely go for it. Alright, so then I would add and I would get 8x equals 8 and 8 is 16. Divide by 8 and x equals 2. Okay, so now we're going to plug it back in. I'm going to go here. So I have 4 times blank plus 9y equals 8. And I'm going to put 2 in there, which gives me 8 plus 9y equals 8. Subtract 8. 9y equals 0. Divide by 9, and y equals 0. So my solution is 2, 0. Okay? Alright, give me just a minute again. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so again on 7, I notice Happy Birthday, Merry Christmas to me. If I try and add before I multiply the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top, the y's cancel, so I get to skip those steps. So add what's left, I get 5x equals 17. So divide by 5, I get x equals 17/5. There's half of my answer. To get the y, I'm going to substitute that into either of the equations. And I went to the bottom one. So I have 3 blank minus 4y equals 8. And I'm going to plug in my 17/5 there. And I know we all hate fractions, so distribute the 3 first, and I will get 51 over 5 minus 4y equals 8. Now I can kill the fraction by multiplying everything by the denominator, 5. That will cancel it, which leaves 51. Multiply is negative 20y. Multiply is 40. So now to get y alone, I'm going to minus 51. That gives me negative 20y equals negative 11. Divide by negative 20. And I get y equals 11/20. And then I checked my answer, and the only difference is they went decimal instead of fraction. So 3.4 and 0.55. Okay. All right, so now number 8. I'm looking, if I try and add first, nothing's going to be eliminated, so I'm going to have to pick something and multiply the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. And I decided to get rid of the x's. So positive 2 goes up, positive 1 comes down. They came out the same, so I'm going to make them different. I make the bottom negative. On top, I'm going to get 2x plus 6y equals 10. On bottom, I'm going to get negative 2x, negative 4y equals negative 6. And now when I add what's left, combine like terms, the x's cancel. 6y take away 4y is 2y. 10 take away 6 is 4. So divide by 2, and I get y equals 2. There's half of my answer. Plug it back into either of the originals, and I went to the bottom, so I have 2x plus 4 blank equals 6. Replace my blank with 2 and simplify. That's 2x plus 8 equals 6. Get x alone, minus 8, 2x equals negative 2. Divide by 2, and x equals negative 1. So my solution is negative 1, 2. Okay. Next, if I try and add first, nothing eliminates, so I'm going to have to do the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. I decided to kill the x's. So positive 6 comes up and positive 4 goes down. They came out the same, so I need to make them different. So I'll make the 4 negative. Distributing the 6 on top gives me 24x plus 30y equals 48. Distributing the negative 4 on the bottom is going to give me negative 24x, negative 32y equals negative 28. And when I combine like terms, the x's cancel. 30y take away 32y is negative 2y. 48 take away 28 is 20. Divide by negative 2, and I get y equals negative 10. Okay, so plug that in, and I'm going to do 6x plus 8 blank equals 7. Plug in my negative 10 to my blank. Distribute 6x minus 80 equals 7. So I'm going to add 80, 6x equals 87. Divide by 6, and x equals 87 over 6. So my solution is 87 over 6 which reduces down to 29 over 2, comma, negative 10. And when I check the answer, we are correct. They just wrote their answer as a decimal instead of a fraction. Okay? All right, again, if I tried to add right now, nothing would cancel, so I'm going to have to multiply the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. And I decided to do x's, so positive 3 comes up, positive 5 goes down. They came out the same sign, so I'm going to make them different, make the bottom negative. On top, distributing the 3, I get 15x plus 36y equals 39. On bottom, distribute the negative 5, I get negative 15x, negative 20y equals negative 25. Combine like terms, the x's cancel. 36 take away 20 is going to be 16y equals 39 take away 25 is 14. Divide by 16 and y equals 7/8 if you reduce. So my y coordinate is 7/8. Substitute it. I'm going to go to the bottom, so I have 3x plus 4 blank equals 5. I'm going to plug in my 7/8. I'm going to plug in my 7/8. Okay. I'm going to distribute the 4, so I'm going to have 3x plus 28 over 8 equals 5. Kill the fraction. Times 8 times 8 times 8. That gives me 24x plus 28 equals 40. No more fraction. Continue solving. Minus 28 minus 28. I got 24x equals 12. Divide by 24, divide by 24, and x equals 1/2. So my solution is 1/2, comma, 7/8, which they wrote as decimals, 0.5, comma, 0.875. Okay? All right, on the next one, same thing. I try and add first, but nothing's going to be eliminated, so I'm going to have to multiply the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. And on this one, I decided to eliminate the y's because the numbers were smaller, which means positive 6 goes up and positive 8 comes down. But since they came out the same, I need to make them different. So I'll make 8 negative, distribute the 6 on top. I'll get 72x plus 48y equals 12. Distribute the negative 8 on the bottom. I'm going to get negative 32x, negative 48y equals negative 80. Okay, so the y's cancel. That gives me 40x equals negative 68. Divide by 40. And x equals negative 17/10 in reduced form. So now I'm going to plug that in, and I went to the bottom one. So I have 4 blank plus 6y equals 10. I'm going to plug in negative 17/10. Okay, I distribute the 4. That's going to give me negative 68 over 10 plus 6y equals 10. Then I can kill the fraction. Multiply by 10, multiply by 10, multiply by 10. That gives me negative 68 plus 60y equals 100. And then to get y alone, I'm going to add 68. That gives me 60y equals 168. Divide by 60, divide by 60, and y equals 14/5 if you reduce. So my solution is negative 17/10, comma, 14/5. And they just wanted to go decimal, so their answer is negative 1.7, comma, 2.8. Okay? All right, the next one, again, if I try and add right now, nothing is eliminated, so I'm going to have to multiply the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. And on this one, I decided to eliminate the y's, which means positive 8 goes up and positive 7 goes down, but since they came out with the same signs, I need to make one negative, and I just always do the bottom. On top, distributing 8, I'm going to get a negative 48x. Wait a minute. Yeah. Negative 48x, positive 56y equals, man, this pen. Positive 56y equals negative 104. On bottom, if I distribute the negative 7, I'm going to get a 84x minus 56y equals negative 28. The y's cancel. I have 48 take away 84, which is going to be 36x equals negative 104, negative 28 is negative 132. Divide by 36, divide by 36, and x equals negative 11/3 if we reduce. Okay, so now I have to substitute, and I went to the bottom. So I have negative 12 times x plus 8y equals 4. I'm going to plug in my negative 11/3. Distribute the negative 12, I get a positive 132 over 3 plus 8y equals 4. Get rid of dividing by 3. If I multiply by 3, which will cancel that and leave 132 plus 24y equals 12. Okay, so now to get y alone, I'm going to change colors. Subtract 132, subtract 132, I get 24y equals negative 120. Divide by 24, divide by 24, and y equals negative 5. So my solution is negative 11/3, negative 5. Again, this one, who knows what he's ever going to do. This one they wrote as a mixed number, negative 5. Okay. Alright, so if we do this one, again, if I try and add, first, nothing eliminates, so I'm going to have to multiply the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. I went for x's because the numbers are smaller. So, negative 2 goes up, positive 1 comes down. They came out different, so I need to make them the same. So I'm going to make him positive, just like the 1. Distribute the 2 on top. I get 2x minus 10y equals 10. On bottom, distributing the positive 1 is negative 2x, positive 3y equals 8. Now, when I combine like terms, the x's cancel. I have negative 3y, 10y plus 3y is negative 7y. And 10 plus 8 is 18. Nope, that should have been 20 because I forgot to see. Yeah, biggest mistake people make is they don't distribute all the way across the equal sign, just like I just forgot to. And the only reason I caught it is because I have my paper in front of me so I won't screw up. Alright, so now I'm going to divide by negative 7, which gives me y equals negative 4. Substitute, so I have negative 2x plus 3 times blank equals 8. And I'm going to plug in negative 4 to my blank. And that gives me negative 2x minus 12 equals 8. Add 12. Negative 2x equals 20. Divide by negative 2, and x equals negative 10. So my solution will be negative 10, comma, negative 4. Okay. All right, if we look at this one again, I always try and add first, but nothing gets eliminated, so I'm going to have to multiply the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. And I decided to go for the x's. So -4 comes up, -12 comes down, but they came out the same, so I need to make them different. So on top, I have -48x plus 32y equals -20. On bottom, I have positive 48x, -72y equals 60. So the x's cancel. 32 take away 72 is -40y equals -20 plus 60 is positive 40. So to get y alone, I'm going to divide by -40, and y equals -1. So now I got to substitute. So I have -4x plus 6 blank equals -5. I plug in my -1. That's going to be -4x minus 6 equals -5. Add 6, -4x equals 1. Divide by -4, divide by -4, and x equals -1/4. So my solution is going to be -1/4, -1. Okay? Alright, if I look at this one, and I try and add right away, nothing cancels. So, we have to multiply the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. Excuse me. And I'm going to do, where am I at? I'm going to do the x's. So -6 goes up, -4 comes down. They came out the same, so I need to make them different. So I'll make the bottom positive. Distribute on top. I get positive 24x, -54y equals -114. On bottom, distribute the 4. I get a -24x, a positive 44y, and a -80. And when I go to now add my equations, the x's cancel. I have -54 plus 44 is -10y equals -194. Divide by -10, divide by -10, I get y equals positive 97/5 if I reduce. Okay, now I'm going to have to plug that in. So I go to the bottom and I have -6x plus 11 whole equal -20. And I got to put in the 97/5, which I know we all hate fractions. So if I distribute the 11, I get 1067/5, and your -6x, and your -20. And I hate fractions, so I'm going to multiply by the denominator as long as I do it to everybody. That would give me -30x. These 5's cancel, so plus 1067 equals -100. So now I'm going to subtract 1067. That gives me -30x equals -1167. Divide by -30, and I get x equals, if you math enter it, 389/10. So my solution is 389/10, comma 97/5. And as a decimal would be 38.9, comma 19.4. Okay. All right, 16. Again, if I try and add right now, nothing is eliminated, so I'm going to have to multiply the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. and I wanted to kill the x's, so -3 went up, -2 came down. Since they came out different, blah blah blah, they came out the same, I need to make them different, so I'm going to make the bottom positive. So I have -3 times -2x is positive 6x. -3 times 5y is -15y, and -3 times 6 is -18. 2 on the bottom is going to give me -6x times 4y is positive 8y times 9 is positive 18. And that's -18. Alright, so those cancel. And I get -15y plus 8y gives me 7y equals 0. Divide by 7, y equals 0. Okay, so now plug it in to get x. I have -3x plus 4 blank equals 9. I'm going to plug in 0. Yeah. So I would have -3x equals 9. Divide by -3. And x equals -3. So my solution is -3, 0. Okay, so same on this one. Nothing is going to be eliminated right away. So I got to multiply the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. I'm going to eliminate the y's. So positive 6 would go up. Positive 7 would come down. And they came out the same, so I need to make one negative. So on top, distribute the 6, I get 54x plus 42y equals 30. On bottom, distribute the -7, which would be -56x, -42y, -28. And now when I add, the y's cancel. 54 take away 56 is -2x. 30 take away 30 minus 28 is 2. Divide by -2, divide by -2, I get x equals -1. To get y sub, so I have 8 my blank plus 6y equals 4. And I plug in -1 and simplify it. I have -8 plus 6y equals 4. Plus 8, 6y equals 12. Divide by 6, y equals 2. And my solution is -1, 2. Alright, on this one, nothing's going to cancel right away, so I'm going to have to multiply the top and the bottom by the bottom. The top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. I decided to kill y's because the numbers are smaller, so -8 goes up, positive 7 comes down. Since they came out the same, I need to make them different, so I'll make that bottom negative. Distribute. No, they came out different, so I need to make them the same. So I'm going to make them both positive. Right? I'm killing y's, right? Yeah. So they came out the same, so I need to make them different. So we'll make one positive and one... No, they both have to be positive. Okay, so 8 times -16 is -128x plus 56y equals 40. On bottom, I get 119x minus 56y equals 14. So now when I line them up and add, the y's cancel. And this will give me -9x equals, this is going to be 54. Divide by -9, divide by -9. And x equals -6. Okay, to solve, we're going to substitute back into one of the originals. So I have 17 blank minus 8y equals 2. I'm going to put -6 in the hole and simplify. That's -102 minus 8y equals 2. To get y alone, I'm going to need to find a pen. Move the negative 102 with positive 102, which gives me negative 8y equals 104. Divide by negative 8, divide by negative 8, I get y equals negative 13. So my solution is negative 6, negative 13. Okay? Alright, Holly has 15 dimes and nickels that are worth $1.05. How many of each type of coin does Holly have? They're giving me two totals. And we're talking about dimes and nickels. So I'm going to say let x equal dimes, let y represent nickels. And the first thing that tells me is she has 15 dimes and nickels altogether. So the number of dimes plus the number of nickels has to come out to 15 coins. The other total they give me is how much it's worth in money. Well, if I'm going to count money, it's going to take every dime counts 10 cents, plus every nickel counts 5 cents, and that has to total up to $1.05. Okay, so there's my system, which I should have lined them up. Sorry, my second one was 0.10x plus 0.05y equals $1.05. All right, they're lined up. So I'm going to eliminate the x's. So 0.10 comes up and 1 comes down. They came out the same, so I make them different. And that's going to give me 0.10x plus 0.10y equals 1.5. On bottom, distribute that negative 1. I'm going to get a negative 0.10x, a negative 0.05y, equals a negative 1.05. Well, here the answers cancel. The x's cancel. All right, and then I'm going to get 0.05y equals 0.45. Divide by 0.05, and y equals 9. Substitute. I'm going to go up to the top, and I'm going to have x plus blank equal 15. I'm going to substitute my 9 in. To get x alone, I'm going to minus 9, and I get x equals 6, which means I need 6 dimes, or she has 6 dimes and 9 nickels. Okay? All right, Suresh studied 8 hours for his final exams in math and science. So let's let x equal math and y equal science. He studied 1.5 hours longer for his math final than for his science final. How many hours did he study for each final? Well, the number of hours he spent on math plus the number of hours he spent on science has to equal the 8 hours he spent studying. The other thing tells me that he worked more in math. So his math is 1.5 hours longer than his math, which we said was, than his science, which we called y. Okay, there's my system. All right, I didn't even talk about substitution because, like I said, I rarely use it. This is one time where I will use substitution because I've already got a letter all alone, meaning I know what x equals. So I can go over here and take out his x and replace it with 1.5 plus y. Everything else stays the same, so plus y equals 8. Okay, so then I'm going to have 1.5 plus 2y equals 8. Then I am going to, minus 1.5 from both sides. I get 2y equals 6.5. Divide by 2. and I get y equals 3.25. Cross over and substitute, I get x equals 1.5 plus blank, and my blank is going to be 3.25. So I get x equals 4.75. Now we got to answer the question. He spent 4.75 hours studying for math and 3.25 hours studying for science. Okay? Tia went to a sale at a media store. She bought 8 videos and CDs for $92. So we have two sets. She bought a total of 8 videos and CDs. So if we call videos X and CDs Y, wouldn't I say that the number of, what did I just say, videos plus the number of CDs has to add up to the total that she sold was 8. To figure out how much money, you have to add money. You don't add X's and Y's. For every X, you are going to, it's going to cost you, what is X videos? $16. So to get money, I'm going to say 16 for every video I sell, plus $10 for every CD I sell has to come out to my total money, which is $92. So now we have a system. I can't add yet, nothing's going to cancel, so I've got to multiply the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. I'm going to do Y's just because one of them's smaller. Okay, so if I do Y's, then positive 10 comes up and positive 1 comes down. But since they came out the same, I need to make them different. So if I distribute the 10 on top, I get 10x plus 10y equals 80. And on bottom, I'm going to get negative 16x, negative 10y equals negative 92. And the y's die. 10x minus 16x is negative 6x. 80 minus 92 is negative 12. Divide by negative 6, and x equals 3. 2. Samson? Wow. Alright, so substitute. I'm going to go back into the top, and I got 2 plus y equals 8. So minus 2 minus 2, and y equals 6. And make sure you answer the question. She bought 2 videos and 6 CDs. Okay. Alright, you try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. Alright, and hopefully you got A. Again, I can't add yet. 2 and 2 would make 4, but I don't have to use numbers. If I have matching numbers, all I need is a 1 and a negative 1, and I'll make them cancel. So on top, I got 2x plus 5y equals 8. On bottom, I have negative 2x minus 4y equals negative 7. Excuse me. The x's cancel. 5y take away 4y is 1y. 8 take away 7 is 1. Substitute it back in. 2x plus 4 blank equals 7. I'm going to plug in 1, so I have 2x plus 4 equals 7. Minus 4, 2x equals 3. Divide by 2, divide by 2. X equals 3 halves, or 1.5. Okay? Try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got G. All right, happy birthday, Merry Christmas to you. I'm ready. If I add right now, the x's will eliminate, so I can skip all that multiply top by bottom and all that stuff. I got 5y and 5y is 10y. So 8 and 8 is 16. Divide by 10, divide by 10. y equals 1.6. Excuse me, plug it back in. I went here, so negative 3x plus 5 times 1.6 equals 8. Distribute 5 times 1.6 is 8. Minus 8, negative 3x equals 0. Divide by anything, and x is 0. Okay, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got 0. They want the product of the solutions. So that means I have to find the solutions and then multiply them together. Okay, if I try and add right now, nothing is eliminated. So I'm going to have to multiply the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. And I am going to eliminate the x's. So positive 5 comes up, positive 7 goes down. They came out the same, so I need to make them different. On top, distributing the 5, I get 35x plus 50y equals 60. On bottom, I distribute the negative 7, and I get negative 35x, negative 35y equals negative 42. And now when I add, the x's cancel. 50 take away 35 is 15y equals 60 take away 42 is 18. Divide by 15, and y equals 6/5 if I reduce. So now we're going to plug it back in. And I have 5x plus 5 blank equals 6. And I'm going to plug in 6/5 there. Distribute the 5 first. So I have 5x plus 30 over 5 equals 6. And I could kill the fraction, except for I noticed that 5 goes into 30 an even number of times, 6 times. Then minus 6, 5x equals 0, divide by 5, x equals 0. So those are my two solutions, but they want me to multiply them together. Well, 0 times anything is 0. All right, try this one. Hit pause. Come back when you're ready. Okay, you are to find two numbers. So I'm going to say let x be the first number and let y be the second number. You always want to define your variables first on a word problem. It says when you double the first, that was x, and triple the second, that was y. Their sum, that means atom, is means equals 1. Okay, my second equation, if I keep reading, it says when you triple the first and multiply the second by 5, that sum is 2. So there's my system. Nothing cancels right now if I add, so I'm going to have to multiply the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. I'm going to do the x's. So positive 3 goes up, positive 2 goes down. They came out the same, so I need to make them different. Oops. I need to make them different, so make him negative. All right, so if I distribute the 3 on top, I'm going to get 6x plus 9y equals 3. On bottom, if I distribute, I'll do my color here, I'm going to get negative 6x, negative 10y equals negative 4. Now when I combine like terms, the x's cancel. 9y minus 10y is negative 1y. 3 minus 4 is negative 1. Divide by negative 1, and y equals 1. Substitute it in. I went to the bottom. So I have 3x plus 5 blank equals 2. Fill in the blank with 1. I have 3x plus 5 equals 2. Minus 5, 3x equals negative 3. Divide by 3, and x equals negative 1. So negative 1, 1 is my solution. Okay, try this one, hit pause, come back when you're ready. And hopefully you got B. There are two paths. So let's call X the first path and Y be the second path. It says 6 in the morning, so we're talking morning. 6 people walked the first path. So that first path we call X. That's the miles of the first path. Okay, but let me read the whole thing. 6 people walked the first path and 12 people walked the second path. The total distance these people walked was 8 miles. In the afternoon, 9 people walked the first path and 4 people walked the second path. The total distance people walked in that afternoon was 5 miles. How many miles long is each path? Well, they gave us 2 sets of information. They said that the first path, 6 people walked the first path and 12 people walked the second path. And that distance was a total of 8 miles. My second equation is talking about the afternoon. 9 people walked the first path and 4 people walked the second path, but that total distance was only 5 miles. So if I solve this system, X will tell me how many miles long the first path is, and Y will tell me how long the second path is. Okay? So if I try to add right now, nothing eliminates, so I'm going to multiply the top by the bottom and the bottom by the top. And I'm going to do the x's, so positive 9 comes up, positive 6 comes down. They came out the same, so I'm going to make one negative. On top, I have 54x plus 108y equals 72. On bottom, I have negative 54x, negative 24y, and negative 30. And the x's cancel. And 108 take away 24 is 84y equals 72 take away 30 is 42. Divide by 84. And y equals 1/2. Okay, so the second path is 1/2 mile. And at this point, you can just stop because that's the only one that has my y answer correct. But just for fun, let's substitute. So I would have 9x plus 4 blank equals 5. And what do I put in the blank? I put 1/2. And this time, guys, yeah, you could distribute the 4 and all of that, but seriously, what's 1/2 of 4? 2. So I have 9x plus 2 equals 5. Minus 2, 9x equals 3. Divide by 9, x equals 1/3. So the first path is 1/3 of a mile. The second path is 1/2 of a mile. All right, and we are done for today, so I will see you tomorrow for day 5.